The corridor stank of antiseptic, the fluorescent lights humming like angry bees above. I remember my mother's voice splitting my skull sharp as her perfume. "Mikola, stop being ridiculous. This is real life, not one of your telenovelas." She stood blocking my father's door, arms a barricade. My little brother, barely 15, watched from a hard plastic chair, silent as guilt. "I'm not a child, Mama. Just let me." "What, go to your ridiculous rehearsal while your father is?" She glanced at the closed door, chest hitching. "While your father lies there, you're selfish." My phone, shoved deep in my jacket, buzzed. Vicky, my best friend, reminding me we had 20 minutes until curtain, downtown at Teatro San Martin. Our first real show, the one we'd begged for. I stared at my mother, hearing old words, years of them, echoing off those blank white tiles. Un verdadero trabajo, Micah, something stable, teaching, law. Instead, my body twitched for music, for wooden floors and blistered toes. Always had. I tried to swallow, but my throat rebelled. I need this. If I miss it, I trailed off, knowing it was futile. "Go then," she spat, "leave us again." That was 2015, the day my father's hands, once so quick to clap to the thrum of a tango, curled limp beneath hospital blankets. The day my choice split my universe in two. I left that corridor, rushed down those endless stairs. Outside, the semi-warm air of Buenos Aires pressed in, smelling of wet pavement and cigarettes. I ran the 3 blocks to the Teatro, heart punching at bone. I danced that night. My mind was elsewhere, flashes of gauze, my dad's silver hair, but my body remembered each paso. I thought maybe if I made it perfect, everything else would fix itself. When the curtain dropped, no one I loved waited outside. My parents always said dreams were for people with nothing to lose. Afterward, I called my mother. The line rang until it ached. The bus home was dark and full of strangers. 2 days later, my father died. Grief is glue, it stuck me in place for months. I slept afternoons, wandered Palermo's grid in the dark hours. My family needed help. I worked mornings folding clothes at a boutique because it was what people did, but the urge wouldn't die, wouldn't even flicker. Music found me through cracked windows, rhythms in footsteps, arguments in the market, the call and response of Buenos Aires itself. I'd tap my ankle beneath tables, rolling out fragments of choreography on invisible floors. At home, my mother watched me. "You waste time, Micah, you see. If you'd studied, you'd be somewhere by now." But inside, the city's heartbeat called to me, and one afternoon, after too many months, I answered it. I returned to practice. I walked into the same dance studio off Medrano, where sunlight striped the warped floor. The others greeted me with pity, muted and cautious. Vicky hugged me. "You're not too late, Loca." I struggled with every move. My muscles remembered pain, not pleasure. The mirrors reflected my hollow cheeks, my uncertainty. I watched my reflection and tried to believe she could become something beautiful again. The next year was work, endless, relentless work. I said yes to anything: opening acts, lessons for little kids, dancing backup at birthday parties in noisy clubs. Every peso went into savings. At night, when my mother still looked at me like I'd chosen a fantasy over family, I swallowed shame with chamomile tea. Worse were the neighbors, Los Señors out on stoops, tears at Sunday parilla, cousins with sneers. "Ay, bailarina," they'd chuckle, waving me away as if I was foolish. "When is your big break?" "After your next birthday." At family dinners, my uncle would parade his latest promotion in a government office. I caught my reflection in the silverware and nodded, swallowing each dismissive glance. Each morning I rebuilt. Carved out small victories. A student learned a tough step, a solo at a festival, one happy review online. I stored these in my chest for the nights I woke doubting. Then, finally, a real chance, a small tango troupe. The director, Javier, liked my lines. He was exacting, ruthless, but he picked me. I'd never been so afraid. We rehearsed 10 hours a day. My feet bled silently into old shoes. Javier watched, cigarette always drooping, his words clipped. "Again, no again, you have no weight, Mikola, put your soul in it." On breaks, I'd lean against cool plaster, watching raindrops race down glass. You cannot outdance grief, but you can learn to make it part of your rhythm. We performed at tango nights and street festivals. Sometimes 50 people, sometimes 5, my mother never came. Once in the dark, past midnight, my brother texted, "I saw a clip online, you look happy." I cried at the kitchen sink, careful to let no one see. There were setbacks, injury, rejection. A judge in a city competition who sneered at my accent called me una suertuda, a lucky girl, pretty but nothing special. Times I nearly quit, but I kept showing up, sweat and silence, morning after morning. 3 years in, Javier announced his retirement, his vote of confidence: "You have guts, start your own group." I almost laughed at him, who followed a nobody, but Vicky believed, "You know the city, you know tango. You can pull dancers out of the gutter and make them better." So I did. I pulled lost kids from train stations, scouted kids from grim dance halls. We practiced in borrowed church halls, parks, subway platforms after the last train left. My company, if you could call it that, had more hope than money. The shows at first were a mess, tempo wild, unpredictable, but gradually something grew. We learned each other. We grew sharp, our bodies speaking grief, longing, pride. We told stories of the city, the hidden pulse outsiders never see. Little things began to change. Local press noticed. A grant arrived, small but real. Then a miracle, the festival invitation. New York, 6 weeks, all expenses paid. I stumbled when I told my mother. She eyed the paper as though the words might dissolve. "And you leave your family again? When will you do something normal?" I chose not to answer. Instead, I pressed the acceptance, felt the tremble of hope under my skin. In New York, crowds waited for us. At first, I was sure we were an accident, someone's misprint, but when we danced, the floor vanished. It was just the music, the city, my company breathing together. At the curtain, people soared to their feet. Here, in this new city, they saw us as art, not foolish children with pipe dreams. We returned more noticed, more legitimate. Now they invited us to national telecasts, galas, benefits. I hired half the kids I'd trained. My company was small, raw, but it was ours. I taught students from Germany, Japan, Brazil. My pictures appeared in papers, not just local rags, but ones my uncle's office actually ordered. I sent money home, helped my brother get into technical college, replaced our mother's fraying sofa, paid for repairs without fuss. But the house, when I visited, was always colder. My mother would set out biscuits, the air between us brittle, weighed by memory. "You still think this lasts?" she'd say, pouring too much sugar into my tea. I bit back retorts. I let the hurt turn in my hands like a stone. Over time, the invitations came less from abroad, more from home. At last, we earned a season at Teatro Colón, the highest stage in Buenos Aires, the one every dancer dreams of. Months of schedule, press, tickets. For the first time, I allowed myself to invite my family. The day arrived in June. The sky was bluer than it had been in months. I waited backstage, numb with fear. I watched from behind a curtain as my mother entered, wearing her good coat, my brother beside her. My uncle's bald dome glinted under the lobby lights. Even some of my old neighbors filed in, unsure why they'd been summoned. Inside, the theater blazed gold and velvet. The house filled, the orchestra warmed up. I met the eyes of my lead dancer in the wings, one of my earliest students, Carla, who once danced for coins outside the Retiro station. Then the curtain lifted. We began, slow, deliberate, the music at first mournful, haunted by loss. I thought of my father's hands clapping in time, echoing in every step. Each movement bore the shape of years. Pain, the ache of hope and rebirth, it all pulsed through my body, through theirs. When we swept into the crescendo, it was not just dance, it was apology, plea, resurrection. I did not see the crowd, only the way the stage lights burned away the shame I'd carried. At the end, the world rushed back, applause, electric, endless. My company took their bows, swept along in cheers. In the orchestra seats, I looked for my family. My mother stood, clapping slowly, her face creased. For a second, one blinding second, I saw her eyes shining. My uncle, stoic, wiped at his glasses. My brother, now tall, grown, gave me a broad, honest smile I'd never seen before. After, in the grand marble lobby, old friends pressed in. "So proud of you, Micah," they said. "When did you get so talented?" The neighbors, the same ones who'd snickered, now dug for tickets, hoping to sell them twice their price on the street. My mother approached, still tense. You were very good," she managed. Her hands wrung at her coat. "It was beautiful," my brother said, voice rougher than I remembered. "Papa would have loved it." Something vital loosened in my chest. I hugged him so fiercely he laughed. We stepped through the doors, out into the cold night. The city hummed, alive and golden, taxis flickering, strangers calling on corners. My mother let me loop my arm through hers. She was stiff at first, but I felt her fingers squeeze just once. A daughter's hand found its way home. On the plaza outside Teatro Colón, I turned as passing strangers pointed, whispering, showing my picture in the evening papers. My family watched it happen, watched the proof laid down in ink and skin and light, watched my name writ large above the city's most sacred doors, a billboard they could not look away from. In that moment, nothing had changed and everything had. We were still the family in the hospital corridor, arguing between past and future. But now we walked forward together, the tangible weight of my dream finally, undeniably real. All around us, Buenos Aires danced, and I realized at last so did I.